concerning the 15th annual Bronzeville Week. We've had so many dignitaries already speaking on what you can expect. Let's listen in and I'll tell you a little bit about what they are previewing in the coming days. Here we go.
That's right. But Lele Cox, I called her and said, line dancing with Lady J. Janae of Outsiderton needs to happen at Bronzeville Week, and she said, absolutely. We got on the phone, and I don't belong to the church, y'all. I belong to the streets, which means that we literally will be dancing in the streets on Wednesday, August 6th, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. What street? We will be on Garfield Avenue between Dr. Martin Luther King Drive and Vale R. Phillips Avenue. And what a perfect place for us to come together. If you know anything about black folks getting together to have a good time, there's going to be some food involved. There's going to be very loud music. That's right. At some point in the evening, everybody is going to get up and dance together. I invite you all to come and line dance with Lady J. Janae of Outsiderton again on August 6th. Wednesday at 4 p.m. right on Garfield Avenue between MO.
And folks, if you're just now joining us, wondering what we are looking at, this is a news conference right now happening discussing the 15th annual Bronzeville Week. This is an event that will celebrate arts and culture and the rich history of Bronzeville. So you're listening to so many different community members, community leaders. We heard Mayor Cavalier Johnson just a short moment ago introducing this news conference. You see him there to your right in the back behind this woman who's speaking here about what you can also expect for Bronzeville Week of 2025. There will be also a, let's see, I believe a 5K walk and run taking place on August 2nd at 8:30 a.m. This is kicking things off for the week, for the Bronzeville Week of 2025. So this is something this community is rallying around, always supporting, but wanted to just give you a preview of what we've been listening to and what we've just tapped into if you are just now joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll take a quick moment and listen a little bit more during this news conference and then want to switch your attention to Deep Thought. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll get into the boat that was abandoned on our shores of Lake Michigan for 6 months, but now it's up for sale. Bidding has started. We'll get into that in just a few minutes, but we want to bring you back into the news conference, breaking down what you can expect for the 15th annual Bronzeville Week.
Acting tips and things of that nature. And then we end on Saturday the 9th with poetry and pancakes, a bike ride through Bronzeville, the Bronzeville Art Walk, and Feel the Culture, a conversation with an actor as well. So we have a lot to be proud of for these 15 years, but I also want to say, because I see a couple residents here today, I want to make clear that Bronzeville is a development district, but it's a district that has the pleasure of being immersed in and around three neighborhoods, three great, strong, historic neighborhoods: the Harambe neighborhood, the Howard Park neighborhood, and the Brewers Hill neighborhood. If we didn't have such great residents around this area, I think we wouldn't be able to do what we do on the greatest King Drive in the nation. If people, thank you. If people are looking for the schedule, they can get it at Milwaukee.gov/Bronzeville on the city's website. You can download a copy of it. Also, follow us on social media. We're Bronzeville Week on Instagram and on Facebook. For those who may not be able to get out to some of the events, we do offer a few virtual events as well. Those can be viewed on our social media pages at the time that is listed on the schedule. I again want to say thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to the Bronzeville Week planning team. Thank you to all those who are doing events and activities this week and all the businesses. And most of all, thank you to that small group of us that decided 15 years ago that we wanted to make Bronzeville be what we wanted it to be. So I do want to say thank you to them. With that, if there's any questions, we can take them.
Alrighty, folks, you are looking at a news conference breaking down the 15th annual Bronzeville Week. You are listening to community members, city leaders, and other dignitaries in our community breaking down what you can expect should you attend this wonderful event in our community in Bronzeville. We know this event rather celebrates arts and culture and the storied history of Bronzeville. We know Bronzeville week of this year will take place from August 2nd through the 9th. The Harambe Run, the 5K walk and run, will kick things off for this event, which will begin Saturday, August 2nd at 8:30 in the morning. But again, you have been listening to city leaders, dignitaries, Mayor Cavalier Johnson, among so many people and organizers who are taking us through what we can expect for Bronzeville Week 2025. We'll be previewing more about what you can expect with regard to this event later on in our broadcast and in the days to come. But this is something we are so excited to see as this comes to fruition in the coming days. Okay, want to switch gears on you for a little bit. Gotta talk about this. This is not just any kind of boat, right? This is Deep Thought. It was abandoned on the shores of Lake Michigan for 6 months. If you're like me, you probably ran beside it, ran, near it, walked, took pictures of it. It's now up for sale, okay? This is it right here in all of its glory. There she is. We'll give you a fuller picture of it so you can just kind of bask in its glory as we take a live view of it. Our photog on the ground there are kind of updating us as to what and who has been by. We can tell you since our photog has been here for the past, hour and a half, there hasn't been any movement in terms of foot traffic just yet. But we know that hopefully will change in the coming hours. We know from 8 a.m. until 5 today, that's how long you have to bid on this boat if you want to take it home. We know that this is right now up for auction. The county spent $50,000 removing this bad boy, Deep Thought, from the shores of Lake Michigan. The county is hoping to make $20,000 back by auctioning this boat off. And so if you're watching this right now, maybe go into your bank account, go into your savings, hit your wallet, see if you can be one of the people to take Deep Thought home. Bidding right now at last check is at $1,125, which is, frankly, nowhere near where the county hopes to kind of make up the money. They, again, are expecting to make or at least expecting to recoup, I should say, $20,000 of the $50,000 they spent on removing Deep Thought from the shores of Lake Michigan. But this has been such a community conversation. Keep in mind, this boat is out of commission, okay? It's severely damaged. We've seen some views of the inside of the boat. There's sand in it, kind of littered with debris as well. We have pictures and video of Deep Thought from the inside on our Fox Local mobile app right now and on our website, fox6now.com. It'll give you a better idea of what you can expect to see beyond this vantage point, which is, of course, showing the exterior of the boat. But this is something that is not usable right now. Primarily, would make for a great conversation piece. We've heard from other people in the community saying that they would love to have, different pieces of this boat to kind of represent this historic landmark that it's become in our community, and that is not really the case. The county is wanting to sell the boat as is. They are not wanting to chop it up and sell different pieces of it. But we've heard that idea floated around from different people in this community who are huge supporters of Deep Thought. But again, you're taking a live look now at this boat where you can join the auction to bring it home to you in your own backyard, or maybe kind of make it a project for you and the family, a fixer-upper. It's definitely what it is. Again, right now at last check, the bid is at $1,125. The county spent $50,000 trying to haul this away from the shore of Lake Michigan, but they are hoping to recoup $20,000. Again, our photog, who's been here on the ground for us, giving us this wonderful view of Deep Thought, has been out here for about an hour and a half. Hasn't seen much foot traffic at all. But again, we hope that will change in the matter of hours. So if you're watching right now, go ahead and submit a bid. Get this, number higher. County leaders want to make sure that this goes back to the county, and it will. They're looking to make up $20,000 of the $50,000 they spent on getting this boat from the shore of Lake Michigan. So, kind of a lot to unpack there. We should hope that, we see maybe more people come up and, admire the boat, look at it, kind of look before they buy. We hope to see some foot traffic in this area as the day progresses, as time progresses. But folks, if you're watching, wondering how long do I have to bid on this today, you have until, let me make sure I got this right. You have until at least 5 o'clock today to bid on this bad boy right here. Bidding, though, will end on August 5th at noon, so keep that in mind. Mark your calendar for that important date. The county hopes to have this done out of their hair by August 5th at noon. So you have between now and August 5th at noon to submit a bid. You can do so right now. All you got to do, if you're watching this, scan this QR code. Our Photo Talk zoomed in on the QR code, which will make it easier for you to see if you're joining us via your telephone or your computer from wherever you may be. Just take your phone and scan this QR code and join the live auction right now. Again, at last check, the bid is at currently $1,125. So if you're like me, wanted to admire this boat from afar, that's okay too. But if you are serious about taking this off the tow yard's hands and keeping it and putting it to your own backyard or somewhere in your own possession, you have until August 5th at noon to get this bad boy off of the county's hands. Alrighty, that will do it for us with regard to this story. We're going to take a quick short break in a moment, but thank you so much for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll be right back with more news and weather as it relates to your community. Thanks so much. Be back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. I am Donovan Long here with you today. Your time now is 12:44. We are continuing to follow news not only in our community, but what's happening across the country. Let's head, though, right now to get a live look at what's going on with regard to the EPA. They're looking at rolling back greenhouse gas emissions. There's a news conference happening about that right now as we speak. Let's listen in to what they are discussing and what tools they are using to conquer their goal here. Let's listen in.
For that finding. That's why they had to try this outside the box, many mental leaps, including trying to fight global climate change. And the other thing that I'll add too is while emissions have been down over the course of the last couple decades here in the United States, you have other nations. I heard China was referenced here. There are other nations that continue to increase emissions, and all of us strangulating our own economy, regulating the heck out of American families and American industries, and cutting off sources of baseload power, and finding new ways to put trillions of dollars of new handcuffs around the American family. None of that, zero, does anything, will do anything to combat the reality that emissions keep on going down here in the US, the innovation keeps going up, and in China and elsewhere, they continue to pollute even more. Next question.
Hi, I'm Lee Berner from Chemical and Engineering News. My question is about this Department of Energy report that Chris Walsh said was released today. I haven't seen it yet. But you mentioned that it went through an internal peer review. Did it go, like, what did that entail? And is it going to go through an external peer review? And also, is this being used instead of the National Climate Assessment?
Yes. So the internal review was scientists at the DOE Department of Science and from our national labs. It was brief. We wanted to get this document out there. Absolutely, now it'll be open for comment from scientists around the world or anyone else that wants to comment about it. What we really want to do is bring climate science into the same realm we treated all science in the past, which is critical thinking, challenging, basing things on data and facts. And if your model doesn't match the data, you can't hide the data, you got to fix your model. We want to end the cancel culture, Orwellian future reality we've been in, where climate change is just not treated as a serious science. It's treated as a political force to silence and shame people. That's just not what science is about. And I think an important understanding of climate change is just so important for people. As the discussion was just held there, when the Clean Air Act came out, it was to regulate 6 criteria pollutants: particulate matter, ground level ozone, SOx, NOx, lead, and carbon monoxide. All of them that have toxic effects on human health. I grew up in Denver. So when I was a kid, you couldn't see the Colorado mountains 1 out of 4 days. We had a brown cloud. We had a huge pollution problem. The population's quadrupled. The economy's grown more than that. And the air is just dramatically cleaner. The Clean Air Act was aimed at toxins. It's been remarkably successful. 75% reduction in U.S. emissions of the 6 criteria pollutants, with like a 40% growth in population and a tripling of the economy. So we can do things. But greenhouse gases are not toxic to humans, right? They absorb infrared radiation. They're a very different mechanism. Even the people who study them don't claim that they're a top problem of the world. It's only activists and politicians that make these kind of outrageous claims you hear all the time.
Garrett Bergquist
just to add, as far as a list of the scientific studies reviewed as part of the preamble of the proposal, by the way, the proposed rulemaking that's going out public is just over 300 pages. About half of that is a preamble. In it, it lists the review of the many studies that were part of developing the preamble. It includes the U.S. Global Change Research Program's 5 national climate assessments and 6th assessment report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That was included during the development of the proposal. I also reviewed and our team reviewed studies from publications such as Institute for Clinical Evaluative Studies, Journal of Marine Science, Global Change Biology, Nature Climate Change, Journal of Forecasting, Climate Dynamics, Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society, and the Journal of Hydrology. We also have Lundberg's 2016 Impact of Current Climate Proposals that was in Global Policy, and those are a sample of many of the references used while developing that preamble. Next question.
This is the final question, sir. Garrett Bergquist, Wish TV, Indianapolis. In effect, if placed into effect as currently envisioned, does this rule effectively reset the emission standards for autos, light, medium, heavy-duty trucks back to 2008 standards? What sorts of things would be left in place? What would be taken out?
As it relates to greenhouse gas emission standards on light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty, it doesn't reset anything. It eliminates everything. This proposed rule is a proposal to eliminate the endangerment finding, to eliminate greenhouse gas standards, all the regulations that came out, including the electric vehicle mandates, all of the greenhouse gas standards for light, medium, and heavy duty. And as a bonus, we're also proposing to get rid of that much hated off-cycle credit for start-stop technology. There's a lot included in this rule. It's over 300 pages, and I would encourage everyone to read it. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. This is an exciting day for our country. It's an exciting day for Indiana, for us in the Trump administration. We were all here in Indiana when the announcement was made. The proposal for what would, if finalized, amount to the largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States. Thank you all for being here.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. You were just looking at a news conference wrapping with some federal officials here. They were talking about rolling back greenhouse gas emissions regulations live from Indianapolis right there. They are talking about their mission for the future, how this will impact you and businesses across our country. But that was a live view of what you just saw from the EPA as they were looking to roll back gas emissions regulations. The news conference wrapping just moments ago, as you just heard. In the meantime, though, we'll take a quick short break and get back to what you can expect as it relates to what's happening around our country right here from our Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Donovan Long. Hey, if you're new here, this is our real-time way of disseminating information to you with regard to what's happening around our community, around the state, around the country, and what's happening internationally, of course, as it relates to its impact on you. We got to talk about this right here, AmFam, a live view taking you to a beautiful view of our city here in Milwaukee. Okay, listen. Our guys, the Brew Crew, will be back here playing the Cubs for Game 2 tonight at AmFam starting at 6 o'clock. We've got a graphic for you that you can see to kind of illustrate what you can expect here. We've got the pregame show happening tonight. This is kind of the lineup what you can expect here on Fox 6. We've got the news starting at 5 o'clock. The Brewers live pregame at 6. Then at 6:30, of course, the Brewers will actually take on the Cubs. We've got a special edition of Fox 6 News right after the game. You'll also find our new series, or newish series, I'd like to speak to the manager, starring our Ted Perry, who sits down with Pat Murphy to answer all of the questions you've been submitting to him. You'll get some of those answers tonight before the game starts, and it's this really interactive way of letting our viewers kind of ask any kind of random question as it relates to the Brewers. And we mean absolutely anything, any aspect of the game, what kind of foods Pat Murphy likes. I know Nicola, my co-anchor here on Wake Up, asked how he prefers his hot dogs. So when we say you can ask this gentleman anything, we truly mean that. But again, the Brew Crew will take on the Cubs for Game 2 tonight at 6:30. The live pregame show will start at 6 o'clock. All of this, of course, right here on Fox 6. We know the Brewers beat the Cubs last night 8-4. They took sole possession of first place in the NL Central. Had the Miz, All-Star Jacob Mizorowski at the forefront here, helping to lead the team to victory. But of course, you've got AmFam right here in all of its glory, sitting with the roof open. We expect a pretty decent day weather-wise, so the roof should remain open for the remainder of the evening as you watch the Brew Crew take on the Cubs tonight at AmFam here at 6 o'clock. Our Holly Baker will join us a little bit later in our digital broadcast to break down what kind of weather you can expect today. We do know in the coming days it's going to be a cool down, but as far as today, pretty much have dodged most of the showers, gotten those out the way, she was saying earlier in our broadcast during Wake Up. So it should be a pretty dry spell for you to go out and cheer on the guys here as they hopefully, again, beat the Cubs like they did last night, 8-4. But again, if we can throw up the graphic one more time really quickly here for folks who are just now joining us, we are going to air the Brewers versus the Cubs here on our broadcast tonight on Fox 6, starting at 6 o'clock for the pregame. The game follows that right at 6:30. We've got the other shows that you're probably interested in as well on our network, the 1% Club, the Snake. Those shows will still come on today. This will be a little bit delayed, pushed back because of this baseball game. But you can also check before the game, Fox 6 News starting at 5 o'clock to get you updated on the latest news, current events, and weather, what's happening in our community, in our nation, in our world. Then after that, if you're staying home, you can cheer on our guys starting at 6 o'clock for the pregame. The Cubs and the Brewers will take action starting at 6:30. And then we are hoping for another win like we had last night. Of course, again, the Brewers beat the Chicago Cubs 8-4. Cementing their place, first place in the NL Central. So we are so thrilled to watch our guys in the coming hours right here on Fox 6, roughly 5 hours, in fact. So we will be sure to keep you posted and have all of the pregame coverage and postgame coverage right here on Fox 6. We are super excited. Okay, folks, we are going to take a quick, short break again, but thank you so much for joining us here on our Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And good afternoon, everybody. Time now is 1 o'clock, top of the hour here. I am Donovan Long. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk from our studios here at FOX6 News. This is our real-time way of getting information out to you with regard to the latest investigations, updates, and the weather as it relates to our community and what's happening across the nation. One of the big stories we've been following nationally is the devastation coming out of New York City. We know that a gunman, according to police, who killed 4 people at a Midtown Manhattan office building housing Blackstone in the NFL headquarters. We're getting a kind of clearer picture as to who this suspected shooter was. We know that the gunman claimed in a note to have a brain disease linked to contact sports, and he was trying to target the NFL League's headquarters, but took the wrong elevator. That's according to so many investigators we've heard since this shooting happened. Investigators believe the suspected shooter was Shane Chimera. He was from Las Vegas, and he was trying to get to the NFL headquarters, which shares apparently a building with Blackstone. He ended up shooting several people in that lobby yesterday, but he entered the wrong elevator that took him to a different level of the building and not the NFL area that he was intending to inflict harm on. This is all according to investigators, but we have seen so many people mourn the loss of not only this police officer who Mayor Adams of New York has identified, but there's also been another person who's been identified as a victim of this senseless shooting. That's as Mayor Adams has put it during a news conference he held earlier with regard to the latest on this investigation. But this is something we will continue to follow because we are hearing a lot more information about the suspected shooter, his possible motive, and we are still waiting for police and investigators to identify the victims of this shooting. Again, we know 2 of them, independent of this suspected shooter, that police have identified, but there's a lot more that we are waiting to see and learn from law enforcement as this investigation continues. But right now, you're taking a live view of the scene here and what people and passersby are looking at as they walk by the scene of a crime that unfolded yesterday. A suspected shooter entered this building. This is where the NFL's headquarters are, shares a building with Blackstone. You know, the gunman killed 4 people at this building before turning the gun on himself. This is all according to investigators. We know that he left behind a note. It was a pages-long note that detailed that he had CTE, the brain disease, and he was trying to target the NFL's league, the headquarters. He took a different elevator that led him to another part of the building and not the NFL's headquarters, that part of the building. But he was still able to inflict harm on 4 other people before turning a gun on himself. One of those 4 people he killed, according to police, was a New York City police officer who police have identified. And there's been another person that Blackstone has identified as a victim of this shooting. So a lot more questions than answers at this hour. But again, this is something we will continue to follow as time progresses. In the meantime, we want to get you here to this live look now on Capitol Hill. This is a meeting, a news conference about a weekly leadership that we are expecting to hear with regard to what's happening in politics. This is a real-time view that you're seeing. We are just awaiting a news conference. I'll bring up some of the audio so you can hear kind of real-time what's going on there as the media stages their corrals, getting ready to hear from different leaders in our nation about what's happening in politics. This is kind of like the Senate GOP and Democrats weekly leadership news conference that they will hold. Normally, we are expecting to see Minority Leader Chuck Schumer here, as well as other leaders in our nation to kind of debrief about how the two sides are working together, what pieces of legislation they are reviewing, and how we work to get better as a country. So we are kind of standing by waiting for this news conference to happen. Should happen about 1 o'clock here or so. I know it's 5 minutes past the top of the hour, but we are awaiting that to happen any moment now. But this is something that happens weekly, again, with the Senate GOP and Democrats We are expecting this to happen any moment now. This is a weekly leadership press conference that happens periodically, of course, on Capitol Hill. And it should update us and give us a clearer view as to what both sides of the aisle are working on or can't seem to find common ground on, to be frank. But as we await this news conference, we'll go to break, take a quick short break, kind of reset here, and wait for this to get started. Thank you so much for watching us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Donovan Long. Your time is 1:06. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to our Wisconsin Live Desk from our FOX6 studios. Donovan Long here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, glad to have you back. Okay, folks, a lot of you are probably wondering what the weather is looking like. We've got the Brew Crew taking on the Cubs tonight at 6 o'clock, and we've got the State Fair in the coming days preparing to open. We have been live from the fairgrounds all morning long throughout Wake Up in Real Milwaukee, previewing what you can expect, and oh my gosh, it's a lot of good stuff happening out there. So why not get a check of the forecast as you start planning what you're going to do in the coming days? Let's get a check of the live radar right now. Give me a second, or bear with me as I pull this up for us. There we go. Taking a live look now at the weather map here. We should note, and Holly Baker, our meteorologist, one of them will join us a little bit later in our digital series to kind of break down more of what you can expect. But I should note, things right now are a little sticky, a little humid out there, maybe cloudy depending on where you live. But we should note, y'all, it is going to get considerably cooler in the coming days. We're talking low 60s and low 70s as a high. That is kind of like some fall-like weather we know a lot of you may not be used to this time of the year because we are approaching August, and man, it is not going to feel like August in the coming days, especially on opening day of the Wisconsin State Fair. It'll be like, again, low 60s, high 70s as in like 73. So it's not going to be a scorcher at all. So we're getting a kind of a reprieve from the heat that we've been experiencing in the earlier parts of this week. And so right now, things are kind of hovering for the 6 o'clock time, 87 degrees, which is when the Brew Crew will take on the Cubs for Game 2 at AmFam. So we are super excited about the weather. We know a lot of you are probably wondering when it's going to heat back up. Holly will join us a little bit later with that answer coming up in the Wisconsin Live Desk. Want to take you here now, also in D.C. We are waiting a briefing today from the State Department the spokesperson, Tammy Bruce, should be addressing media in just a few minutes here as well. You see the media already seated, preparing for her comments as they relate to what's happening globally, what's happening with President Trump's, different, outcomes as it relates to the war in Middle East, trade deals, trade discussions, and negotiations. We are expecting her to unpack all of that for us in the coming minutes, but you're taking a live view now at the State Department, where we are expecting a briefing to be any moment now. Spokesperson Tammy Bruce will be at the helm of that. Want to take you kind of a little bit further away to Capitol Hill right here as well. We are expecting a briefing from our lawmakers, a Senate GOP and Democrats weekly leadership news conference. That is what all these folks here, including the media, are gathered to hear. We know that we've seen Chuck Schumer, of course, at some of these news conferences. The minority leader, of course, is his title here on Capitol Hill. But so a lot of different things in politics happening in real time as we speak. Again, this is kind of the benefit of the Wisconsin Live Desk. We can take you to these different places as they happen in real time, so you can get an up-to-the-second idea of what our nation's leaders are debating, what our lawmakers are debating, where we're going from here in terms of foreign policy. Let's get back now to the State Department, because it looks like Tammy Bruce is ready to address the media. We'll take a live listen in as she gives her daily briefing to us here. Stand by for me.
With our briefing, and then, of course, happy to take some questions. This week, the UN is serving as host to an unproductive and ill-timed conference on the so-called two-state solution in New York City. This is a publicity stunt that comes in the middle of delicate diplomatic efforts to end the conflict in Gaza. Far from promoting peace, the conference will prolong the war, will embolden Hamas, and reward its obstruction and undermine real-world efforts to achieve real peace. As Secretary Rubio has made clear, this effort is a slap in the face to the victims of October 7th and a reward for terrorism. It keeps hostages trapped in tunnels. The United States will not participate in this insult, but will continue to lead real-world efforts to end the fighting and deliver a permanent peace. Our focus remains on serious diplomacy, not stage-managed conferences designed to manufacture the appearance of relevance. Also, the United States welcomes the ceasefire declaration announced yesterday between Cambodia and Thailand. We commend both governments for taking this important step to ease tensions along the border. President Trump and Secretary Rubio spoke with their Cambodian and Thai counterparts on July 26th to underscore the need for an immediate cessation of the violence. Building on those conversations, the United States, working in close coordination with the government of Malaysia, co-organized the ceasefire talks in Kuala Lumpur on July 28th. These talks provided a vital platform for both parties to come together in good faith and ultimately reach agreement on a ceasefire. We are also grateful to Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim for his leadership and for hosting the ceasefire talks. President Trump and Secretary Rubio remain firmly committed to an immediate cessation of violence and expect the governments of Cambodia and Thailand to honor their commitments to end this conflict. Further, in the aftermath of the recent typhoon and tropical storm that have devastated the Philippines, the United States remains committed to supporting the Philippine government in assessing the needs and providing critical assistance. The State Department is deploying a U.S.-based team to strengthen the local relief efforts, including supporting food distribution efforts for displaced families and coordinating logistics for relief efforts led by the government of the Philippines. To date, we have helped transport tens of thousands of food packs to the hardest-hit communities, ensuring vital resources reach those in need. This collaboration underscores the enduring partnership and strong ties between the United States and the Philippines. Finally, in today's topper, yesterday, President Trump announced a trade deal with the European Union, fundamentally rebalancing the economic relationship between the world's two largest economies. This deal marks a generational modernization of the transatlantic alliance and will provide Americans with unprecedented levels of market access to the European Union. The deal bolsters America's economy and manufacturing capabilities. The EU will purchase $750 billion, with a B, my favorite, of U.S. energy and make new investments of $600 billion in the United States, all by 2028. Through decisive leadership and an unyielding commitment to American workers, President Trump has delivered yet another agreement that positions the United States as the world's preeminent destination for investment, innovation, and advanced manufacturing. Since day one, President Trump challenged the assumption that American workers and businesses must tolerate unfair trade practices that have disadvantaged them for decades and contributed to our historic trade deficit. Yesterday's announcement opens up historic market access to the second largest economy in the world, reestablishing the strong, positive, long-term relationship between the United States and its key ally, the European Union. And before we begin, and I'll take your questions, we've switched things up a little bit here in the front row. I'm looking at some new faces, while all the faces that you guys recognize at home, watching the briefings for these last 6 months, recognize. I have to say that the bullpen members and the individuals that you see on camera have their own fan bases, if you will. So people are excited, of course, each day to see the exchanges, and I appreciate that. But what people may not know are the number of people who come to this room for each briefing, who are journalists with outlets that speak to people around the world. And we think it's time, as I'm used to seeing, well, you far back there, nice to see you, Nadia as well. But I'll be introducing you to the front row today. It'll change for each briefing. But this is an opportunity for us to get to know you, for further experience and advancement, for the nature of what Americans in the world see as we answer these questions. Saeed, of course, has his own fan club. But nice to see you over here. It's a little confusing as opposed to over there. So just as a reminder, for those of you watching at home, whether it be C-SPAN, of course, or our State Department account on X, et cetera, wherever you may be viewing us. First, over here is Saeed. Saeed is with Al-Quds, a bullpen member, as a matter of fact. And Tim with the Washington Examiner here. Welcome aboard, Tim. We also have Yelena, yes, from NTN from Columbia. Vaughn is here with Washington Times. And Danielle, as we noted, and Nadia, who you've also gotten to know here at our briefing. So welcome to the front row. Again, it will change for each briefing. I don't know what Tommy has in mind for Thursday. He'll be briefing on Thursday as usual. But let us begin with your questions. I'll start with the front row. Yes, sir. Vaughn.
President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have issued seemingly contradictory statements on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Is there a rift emerging between the two leaders, and how is this impacting peace efforts, if at all? Well,
of course, what I won't comment on is the nature of a relationship. What we've seen between the president and the prime minister has been a very good relationship. Certainly, this is a fluid, dynamic situation. That's an understatement when it comes to what's happening in Gaza, especially with the new efforts regarding the humanitarian assistance. Certainly, the president's point of view regarding what we need to do and continue to do, which we have been doing, which is facilitating the food assistance through GHF, but also, of course, the financial investment and the president's work and this government's work and Secretary Rubio's work to stop the carnage, to have a ceasefire, to get the hostages released, and to have the killing stopped. I think that when we look at the nature of remarks by the president, there's one thing that's clear. That everyone can agree on is that it is his humanitarian nature to focus on diplomatic solutions, but he is a realist and he'll go and do what he needs to realize what his goals are, which is peace and a ceasefire. And also, I think the recognition that no one has denied, we have not denied it in this room, that the humanitarian assistance to this point has not been enough. My argument is that it would never be enough in that obscene, unnatural environment. And so we're proceeding in that regard, and of course, with President Trump's leadership, as he noted yesterday, to do even more to assist when it comes to food and other aid. So that's, I think, without getting ahead of the president as we'll learn more about what his plans are coming up. We know the secretary, of course, has led the way in this regard as well. But the focus remains certainly the humanitarian aid, and our focus remains also on a ceasefire and ending that carnage. All right. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. I like this disposition.
And good afternoon, everyone. Your time is 1:20 now. Thank you for joining us here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. You were looking at the State Department spokesperson, Tammy Brewers, taking questions from media in the press briefing room as we speak. Tammy Brewers touched on a number of things as it relates to the Trump administration. She talked about how there is a two-state solution that the Trump administration is monitoring as it relates to the war in Gaza. She talked about how the U.S. is welcoming a ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia to end the violence at their border. She talked about how the U.S. is also committed to helping the Philippines that have been devastated, the people that are devastated by the typhoon, by transporting food and other resources to that area. She also talked about the trade deal with the European Union. So a lot to touch on here. A lot of reporters, as you can imagine, have questions about each of those aspects of the Trump administration, but wanted to kind of brief you, if you're just now joining us, on what the spokesperson, Tammy Brewers, has been addressing here.
Not something that most people can say. All of their work has led to getting to a point where we can discuss and envision that future and then act on that. Regardless of the conflict that has been worked on, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, the Gaza Strip, or anywhere else, you can't really begin to contemplate what's next until people stop killing each other. We are still at that point. We have not, because of Hamas's recalcitrance and refusal to lay down its arms, refusal to release the hostages, we're not at a point where we're looking at what is next. We know things will have to be rebuilt. The president has made remarks in that regard. But from the beginning, calling for new ideas and a new way forward so that it's not just a repeat of what we've experienced for generations now.
And if I can do a follow-up about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Yesterday, the president also talked with the UK Prime Minister, and the UK will help in the Humanitarian Foundation. in the aid. So what are we going to see next? Is the president at the State Department see that this organization somehow maybe is not working out for different reason?
Well, what we said from the start is that this is not about what has not worked. Clearly, we're now, I think, close to 100 million meals have been distributed by GHF. But as we've discussed, there has to be more. There's always had to be more. The calls from the president, from the secretary, and even GHF has been, have more, join us. There needs to be more ideas, more movement. We know, of course, there have been some airlifted airdrops of food. There's been corridors there's a window for corridors for delivery of more aid. And that's, of course, that's good, that's important. But adding to the aid and to the mechanisms that are there is what we've all called for. It is not an indication that there should be only one. It should be, everyone should be contributing to helping to make a difference here. So far, it has been GHF with a mechanism that has worked to keep the aid out of the hands of Hamas. And that has been fundamental. So it's good news. And of course, as the president returns to the United States, no doubt we'll have more information about how much more good news we'll have regarding aid and supplies. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And hold on, please. Hold on. No,
Thank you, Tammy.
no, not you. I don't. Maybe it's my pointing, or maybe because there's a tall guy here. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on what Trump has said about setting up new food centers. Will these be part of the GHF?
We don't know the framework of how something would proceed regarding the details. I'm waiting for the president to return and don't want to get ahead of him regarding announcements and what the framework would be.
When do you expect this to be announced?
Considering the nature of the urgency of the situation and everything that President Trump does, very quickly and very soon. But we'll let that play out when he gets here and we get the details from those involved.
And if I could just follow up, the IPC has said that GHF food items require water and fuel to cook, which is largely unavailable. And the IPC's Famine Review Committee said that their analysis of the food packages supplied by the GHF shows that their distribution plan would lead to mass starvation. Has the U.S. vetted what supplies the GHF is providing and ensured that they are providing the necessary nutrients and that they are able to be cooked?
All right, I'm going to pass this off so we can get an answer to you. I do know that, again, the issue here is getting more food, more access, more everything. That has always been at the top of our list. But when it comes to this specificity of what's being handed out, we'll get back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Tammy. The president has now said multiple times that his administration has pledged $60 million toward food and other supplies for Gaza. The State Department has only announced $30 million for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Can you say, has more money been earmarked for the GHF, or is there other funds that are going out to make up for that $60 million to $30 million difference?
I would suggest a question for the White House there. Again, I know what we've done here at State. Clearly, the president is in a position when it comes to decision making, knowing what parts are moving and where things are headed, that they would have probably a better answer for you regarding the rest.
But it's only $30 million for GHF at this point. Can you say that?
From what we, of course, have announced here at the State Department, that's in this particular. I would caution against the suggestion that with what State may have done and what's been announced is a reflection of the complete picture. So I tend to caution about those things. I will caution about that again. But this is, as we all know, a very large issue, a very fast-moving issue, and there's many different pieces that are coming together in how it moves. And so the element that we have announced is an element and does not speak to an end or a final complete piece to what it is we're doing. All right. Yes.
Thank you. Just following up on Daphne's question, I had asked her about what Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is distributing specifically, this was last week's briefing, specifically the high nutrient food that is needed.
Yes, I know it's come up before as well. So,
yeah,
yes.
And you mentioned that you would take that back to get more details on the distribution. I did get a line from this department in response to my questions last week. And the State Department spokesperson had said the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation Award remains subject to strict requirements, vetting, and oversight mechanisms like all department awards. And then they also deferred to GHF on the exact food items that are being distributed.
Sure.
There's been a lot that's happened since you were actually last at the podium. As you know, there's been the news out of France, and also now with the UK Prime Minister saying that the UK may well recognize a Palestinian state in September at UN Week if certain conditions are not met by Israel. And then, of course, there's been wall-to-wall coverage on images of starving children, photographic evidence of that, from our colleagues covering the story on the ground in Gaza. So I just wondered whether the vetting process and the strict requirements in this department is now having to take into account, obviously, all of this evidence, this photograph evidence, and is this giving the department some pause on these funds that are meant to go out the door to this organization?
First of all, some of you may have seen a remark from Anna Kelly from the White House about the president's stance and what his plans are. She said President Trump wants to alleviate the suffering for the people of Gaza because he has a humanitarian heart. He announced a new aid plan today to help Gazans obtain crucial access to food. Details are forthcoming. What I will note about what's happening on the ground, of course, is what our focus is on, which is getting more aid in.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Jonathan Long here. If you are just now joining us, you've been listening to the State Department spokesperson, Tammy Bruce, give an update on a number of items overseas the Trump administration is involved in. Kim Murphy will join you for the remainder of the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm leaving you in amazing hands. You will be with her for the remainder of our digital broadcast here on this Tuesday afternoon. Thanks so much again for joining us, and we'll see you on the other side.
Of the United States are focusing on saving lives, dealing with individuals who can stop what they're doing to create peace. And of course, as you know, the president has been frustrated on a couple of fronts regarding the killing of civilians, the using of civilians, the nature of what's happening at too many conflicts around the world, and that's what he's focused on. But it's a good issue to have, if there is a silver lining, about the fact that more food, more nutrition, more access is being created, and that's what we're doing in the meantime while still trying to stop a war that makes that zone almost impossible. Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. I have two questions. An Israeli settler called Yanon Levy, he shot and killed a Palestinian peace activist. He's a father of three. His name is Aoud al-Hadalin in the West Bank. This settler was identified by the previous administration as an extremist, and he was under sanction, both by the EU and the US. The Trump administration has lifted the sanction on him. You often say you have the same values with the Israelis. How can you make sure that this guy is accountable when he killed a civilian, especially a peace activist?
Well, of course, I think it needs to be said. It shouldn't have to be said, but we decry the loss of life everywhere. That has been the hallmark of the work that this administration is doing. It is at the top of mind for Secretary Rubio and all of us who work here at the State Department for a reason, because we care about what happens with other people. Here, certainly we care about, it is American First framework, but that value is about peace around the world as well, which also helps us. I would say also that we, as you know, we don't comment on investigations that belong to another government. Israel has investigations that it's implementing regarding situations of this sort. I don't know the end result of what that's going to be, nor will I comment or speculate on what should happen. What we do know, and I don't think we should have to, we have a status here, a posture, where all of this matters to us, to the point where the president's last and only, this second term, but his last effort is to make these things better and to save people's lives. So it is, it's certainly Gaza, a war zone. We're doing our best to make a difference there, and we will wait for the result of an investigation before we have any comment.
Sure, this guy in the West Bank is not in Gaza.
Well, but with the West Bank and Gaza, obviously, the nature of conflicts and what we've been working on, but I appreciate that, yes, of course. It's the same, I think, it's the same argument. We see this in the West Bank. We know when there's violence in general. We saw something unfold in New York City as well with a shooting in New York City yesterday. These things touch all of us. With the hero there being a Bangladeshi immigrant, a cop for 3 years, dies defending New Yorkers. It is the American story, and it's something that we all work to help try to make a difference on. All right.
My second question is, two Israeli human rights organizations found that they concluded that Israeli practice in Gaza has aspects of genocide. The Trump administration has put sanctions on UN officials who concluded the same. So are you going to sanction this human rights organization, or are you going to change your position?
Well, I appreciate that, Nadia, but of course, you know, I'm not going to speculate or say what actions will be. I'm not going to comment on outrageous allegations, effectively, which have also been disputed. But I will, again, you know, I won't preview things or guess or speculate about actions in any regard. All right. Yes.
Can I just ask you about the trucks that are getting into Gaza? Over the weekend, there was an uptick, I think, over 100 trucks that got in on Sunday. But at times during this crisis, there have been upwards of 300 trucks delivering humanitarian aid into Gaza. What is the number of trucks that this administration wants to see Israel allow into Gaza on a daily basis?
Well, I won't discuss, of course, details with you or the content of conversations or even a specific like that. What I do know is that there's this overarching work that we've done to make sure as much can get in as possible. At the same time, we do know that the UN had noted that they were not moving material in because of the violence. We know it's a war zone. I mean, that has been the overriding issue, and how to make it safe to get food through to those who need it versus into the hands of those who are causing the destruction and using it and weaponizing it. So we don't, I'm not going to speak to you about specifics or if that conversation has been had. We know, of course, it's in everyone's interest to help stop the kind of environment in general that's happening in the Gaza Strip. It's again, monstrous and abnormal, and all of us have an interest in stopping it.
And DHS contracts expire expire at the end of August. Is this administration pushing for those contracts to be
I
renewed?
won't speak on the details of contracts or agreements, or if that's accurate or if it's not. Yes.
Thank you so much. Two very quick questions. Secretary Rubio, for the past several months, has been wearing two hats, both leader of the...
Four hats.
Many
hats.
But specifically, Department of State and NSC. He has shrunken down the NSC and called it right-sizing.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, are these two roles being sort of merged together into the same official, or are they being fulfilled in two separate capacities?
Well, I can't speak to the decision-making about the nature of what he's doing as the NSA. I'm here with the State Department. Of course, he is the Secretary of State. What I can tell you is when I've been on various trips where the NSA, the National Security Advisor, and the Secretary have been there together, it's the same kind of work. It's working together seamlessly. Of course, there'll a great deal of time of overlap regarding the nature of what's happening in the world. So it seems and it appears to be working out smoothly and effectively.
And my second question, today, Kim Yo-jong in North Korea, the sister of Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un, published an official statement regarding the U.S.'s desire to denuclearize the peninsula. While rebuking the United States, the memo did include a line stating that Kim Jong-un's relationship with President Trump is, quote, not bad. And I'm just wondering if the Department of State is familiar with the nature of bilateral relations between the U.S. and North Korea at this time, and why they might have said that.
Well, I would suspect that you should contact the White House when it comes to the relationship between the president and another country. Of course, we do know, as we see now, as we saw in the first term, President Trump's willingness to talk with everyone in order to achieve the peace and prosperity and some semblance of normal life for people around the world. Regarding the note you mentioned, or if it was a social media tweet, I don't have a remark on that, of course, but the White House can tell you more about the president's approach with North Korea. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Tam. Me?
Yes, you.
Okay. I have two questions too. The first one is, after President Uribe's conviction, will the U.S. consider any sort of action similar to what we saw after the decision against former President Bolsonaro in Brazil? The first one. And the second one, after you answer?
Yeah, so regarding the verdict, verdict with former President Uribe, yes? Yes, well, the Secretary of State put out a tweet on this as well, noting that former Colombian President Uribe's only crime has been to tirelessly fight and defend his homeland. The weaponization of Colombia's judicial branch by radical judges has now set a worrisome precedent.
And the second one is, with the U.S. allow Chevron to operate in a country led by an administration charged with promoting terror and drug trafficking?
Well, I can tell you this, and I love your very direct questions. What I know that there's two separate details that I don't have in front of me that I want us to take and get back to you in that regard. What we have said repeatedly, though, is that we will not allow oil revenue to fund or benefit that regime. And so I think that's something that we can repeat here at this point, but when it comes to some further details, let's see if we can get you. All right. Saeed.
Thank you, Tammy, and I must admit I feel a little bit vulnerable and closer to the floor here.
Wow.
I was always shielded by the front row.
Well, see how you're thinking now, but you can trust us, you're fine without the Italian rule about never having your back into an open space.
Very quick question. You know, IPC said today what's going on in Gaza is famine. And the reason they didn't classify it as such is because they need the actual data, and they have to be in Gaza to collect that data, which Israel prevent them. So my two questions.
Well, let me just say, as you know I might, is that there is someone preventing people from getting into Gaza, and that's Hamas. Okay. Hamas is preventing everyone from being able to get in there, whether it is reporters, whether it's food deliveries, or those who might need to assess the nature of what's happening on the ground. People are afraid of a terrorist group, the masterminds of October 7th, which slaughtered babies up to the elderly, when they're living, dismembering them, putting a baby into a microwave, murdering women as they're raping them. That set of people are running the Gaza Strip. So it's understandable why people are concerned and can't get in. It is not the Israelis who have been defending themselves in this framework and who are ready to sign a ceasefire deal and have been ready for weeks to do so.
Well, in fact, the Israelis are preventing everybody. They control the area, but that's another issue. My question to you: does this add the kind of urgency that would allow more trucks, to follow up on Kylie's point, more trucks, and to the level that it was before? It was something like 400, 500 trucks, especially.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Murphy here on the Wisconsin Live Desk for the second hour on this Tuesday. You've been listening to the State Department briefing, which happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays about this time. The media, journalists from around the world, and in this country, of course, getting their chance to get updates on the State Department on a variety of issues. One of the things that has been dominant in this afternoon's questioning is the crisis that is happening right now with the Gaza Strip and the starvation that is happening right now, infants dying. We've seen images and reports from that region as the Israel-Hamas war continues. And at the same time, there was a development today that the UK, the Prime Minister there, announcing plans to recognize Palestine as a state if this war does not come to an end. So we are going to continue to follow that story. And then we want to take you to New York. This is the scene of yesterday's deadly mass shooting. Happened in New York. A man traveled, authorities say, from Las Vegas to New York for the purpose, it seems, of exacting violence on the NFL offices there, which are located in that Park Avenue high-rise. We're learning that the shooter also had a note, a 3-page note on his body. He referred to former NFL player Terry Long, diagnosed with CTE, who killed himself in 2005. The suspect in that note hinted that he had a grievance over unsubstantiated claims that he too suffered from CTE. What we do know is that there is a documented history the suspect has of mental health issues. So we will continue to follow that story as we get more updates on that. I'm Kim Murphy in right now, second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're going to take a quick break. And coming up in the next couple of minutes, our Christina Van Zelst is in West Dallas, prepping us for the Wisconsin State Fair, which begins on Thursday. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Happening right now in our nation's capital, Senate Democrats are responding to a number of issues. The Epstein files, already one of the points addressed. Let's take a check of what is happening right now.
Killed at or near the AIDS site.
Foreign adversary would gain access to anything connected with the files to determine three things: if foreign intelligence agencies could gain access to the files, if the second, for the FBI to identify any vulnerabilities that could be exploited by foreign intelligence agents, and third, for the FBI to show publicly they're developing mitigation strategies so this couldn't happen. Last Thursday, DHS and HHS were among several government agencies hacked as part of a breach to Microsoft's SharePoint system. This was confirmed that it was Chinese actors, so we don't need this happening again. We have to ensure that it can happen. National security is not and should never be a partisan issue. We need to do everything we can to make sure we're protecting the U.S. and American families. This report is vital in doing that. Beyond that, there is one more thing Donald Trump could do to quell people's anger, confusion, frustration, and our deep fears. That is, release the files. Senator Murray.
Thank you. Well, Trump's first few months in office have been nothing but chaos. His definition of fixing things is breaking them and then lying about it. Look no further than Social Security and the VA. I just heard from a constituent who called their local Social Security office for 3 straight days and could not get an answer. So they drove to a field office where every
You are listening to the Senate holding their weekly leadership news conference. Democrats also holding, GOP, I should say, Senate Republicans also holding theirs. And when that happens, we will bring it to you. But right now you're listening to the Democrats. Welcome back to the second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'm Kim Murphy. Excitement is in the air, as well as cream puffs and anything on a stick. The Wisconsin State Fair starts on Thursday, and we're excited to give you a little preview of what to expect. Our Christina Van Zelst is there. Hey there, Christina.
Hey, Kim, can you believe it is already State Fair time? We're less than 48 hours away from opening day on Thursday. Getting a little preview here, though, of the animal section of the fair. Obviously, it's a hot one here, and I feel so bad for the sheep. They're literally wearing blankets, but we did just talk with this family behind me as they're preparing in the heat. They say that sheep do somewhat well in the heat. This is something they're used to. They have extra water, and there's a huge fan in here that's kind of keeping all of us cool as well to keep the animals safe in this heat. And one of the people we talked to talked about like signs when it comes to heat exhaustion in animals, which is not something that happens. And these sheep here are actually getting a little bit of their wool taken off, so they're probably cooling down a little bit. But again, talking with people here about how they're staying cool in this heat, especially when it comes to the animals. Some of the pens we've seen have fans clipped to them. Opening day, though, weather-wise, does look pretty good. So when it comes to staying cool, today is really the hot one. And then as the week goes on, I think things will cool off a little bit then. So catching up with people here when it comes to the heat. And then also, we're going to do a little walk around so you can kind of see what it looks like in terms of the prep, but also want to tell you about what happened over in Spin City. So we're going to do a little walk, and I can tell you about the rides, Kim, as well. So today is the day that they do the ride inspections, which Spin City is kind of far from where we are, over in that direction. But they started setting up all of those rides just last week, and today's focus was ride inspections. And the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services, that's who does these inspections. They were here today overseeing the rides. They're looking at how the ride is structured and mechanical parts of the rides to make sure that they're safe for everybody. We had the State Fair CEO who was at a press conference this morning talking about how because the rides are transported, the workers want to make sure that nothing changed during that transport. So they're looking for things that are worn or needed to be replaced. So they're looking at things like brakes, hydraulics, harnesses, electrical systems, just to make sure that the rides are fully operational. And of course, the goal is to make sure that when people are here, they don't have to worry about the safety aspect riding these rides. So Kim, we're going to take you on a little walk now to show you some of the animals that are now in place. We are in the area where it's a lot of sheep. I know, and cooler, right? With their wool coming off. Yeah. So you can see a lot of them have their blankets on, which I asked, does that make them hotter? It's actually to keep them clean. So once they go through their washing process, it keeps them clean and also keeps the flies away.
Wow, it's like a salon for animals in there.
I'm not gonna lie, it does not smell like one, but
okay,
that's okay.
You know what? You get like A++ for being in the animal barn on a day like today, because I know it's part of our, agriculture, and we are grateful for the farmers. However, it's a little bit of an adjustment for us city slickers when you just step into that barn.
Well, I gotta say, the fan, this huge fan on the ceiling, is actually making it feel a lot cooler, at least on this part of the barn. So when it comes to the heat, as long as you're in the area where the fan is blowing, it's not too bad. But even just walking out of this barn without the fan in the direct sun, oof, it's hot. So appreciate this massive fan. It's definitely helping keep things cool in this animal area.
Okay, so much is going on right now in the preparation for Thursday. We know it doesn't just start the morning of the fair, but I want to talk about some other details as people are headed to the fair. Are there things that we should know specifically about people under the age of 18?
Yeah, so the State Fair does have a policy. Anybody that is 17 and younger does have to be accompanied by a chaperone to get in starting after 5 p.m. So after 5, if you're 17 and younger, you do have to have an adult with you to enter the State Fair, and families or chaperones can only have up to 6 people that they're chaperoning at that age. So just a reminder, if you're coming to the State Fair after 5, that is a policy that is in place this year. So keep that in mind, depending on what time you're coming with your family or friends. That is something that they are enforcing.
Okay, last question. I know that homeowners around the fair, they make money in the parking situation. Have you already seen signs going up around the fair? And what is the best price you've seen so far?
I have not looked. We didn't do a good drive around. We just kind of came straight in. But I'm going to look for you and see if people are already setting up those signs, because come Thursday, people are going to be looking for those parking spots. So I'll keep an eye out and get back to you, because I'm not sure. I didn't see any when we first pulled in. I know, it's crazy.
Like $50. I'm like, geez, before I even set foot in the fair, I've spent $50 just to get a park.
Yeah, I know.
All
well,
right.
If I see a lower one, I'll let you know.
Okay. Christina Van Zelst, taking one for the team. She's in the animal barn on like one of the hottest days of the week, but she's going where, reporters dare to go to bring you the story. Christina Van Zelst and her photographer. Thank you both. I tell you, it's not easy. You think life of a reporter is glamorous, you never know what you're going to cover. So you always make sure that you have a spare set of clothes, a spare set of shoes, because you may come in like, oh, all cute in your heels and everything, and then dun dun dun, you're going to the fair. And so you need to switch out and have some walking appropriate shoes so that you can travel the miles at the Wisconsin State Fair. It's fun, don't get me wrong, it is fun, but sometimes it's a little more taxing when the weather is like this. It's hot, it's humid. We're under an air quality advisory until noon on Thursday. So it's a little thick out there. So we appreciate Christina and her photographer taking a moment to speak to us. We're going to take you now back to Washington, where Democrats are responding to a variety of issues facing Congress.
State finally had to drive in, couldn't get anyone to talk to, finally had to call our office, finally had to drive hundreds of miles to try to get help. Americans are paying the price for this healthcare sabotage, and sadly our Republican colleagues have done nothing but rubber stamp.
Stop yelling. Yes, a non-yeller. Look, the bottom line is this is a terrible thing. Republicans had 3 times to make this better because we offered it 3 times and they didn't do it. It's a serious, serious burden that's going to start taking effect in very real ways this fall. Yes, over there.
And as this is happening in Washington, D.C., we're also keeping an eye. Reporter, that's Connor Hansen, Fox's Connor Hansen. He is in New York. Outside of that office skyscraper, that was the scene of a mass shooting. As soon as he begins to give his report, we're going to check in as we try to get the latest on what's happened here. We're learning more about the victims. One of the 4 people killed, a New York police officer on the job for about 3.5 years, the father of 2, the family also expecting their 3rd child. So as soon as Connor begins his report, we will go to Connor Hansen. But let's now return to the Senate Democrats with their weekly response.
Look, I very much want to do the sanctions bill. I think it has like 84 co-sponsors, including myself and Senator Thune. We have to be tough with Putin. He's taking advantage. I think the president's even becoming exasperated. So we hope we can move the tariff bill quickly.
Thank you. What about on recess appointment to rules changes? Senate Republicans are considering those, sir?
A shocking deviation from the norm. A woman.
Pardon me. Just like that, when it's over, it's over. Senate Democrats attacking again the president's bill, saying that it will kick off millions of Americans off of Medicaid and healthcare services that they need. And that was the response. They are also a push for the Jeffrey Epstein files to be released, holding the president accountable for his words where he promised on the campaign trail that he would release the Epstein files. We're now entering week 2, possibly week 3 of the push to get those files released. We know that the Department of Justice met with Ghislaine Maxwell. She is now serving a 20-year sentence as a co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein in that sex trafficking case. Epstein, of course, took his own life as he was awaiting trial on those sex trafficking charges. There is wild speculation, many conspiracy theories on both sides of the aisle on what Ghislaine Maxwell knows, but more importantly, if there exists a client list, which many people do believe that Jeffrey Epstein kept a list of clients, high-profile clients. We are talking about presidents, heads of state, members of royalty, billionaires. That is the belief of those who were friends with Jeffrey Epstein, who took part in those sex crimes, and there is just this push, this groundswell that does not seem to be going away even overseas. The president was dogged by questions about the Epstein files. So that is something that continues. We're going to take a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll be back on the other side.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
We're going to take you now out to California. This is the scene of a police chase that seems to have come to an end. The aerial view. This is in Venice Boulevard in California. You can see the suspect there, again taken into custody after a pursuit with authorities. Good to see that this ended without incidents, and it appears with no injuries, but just a day in the life of officers out there in LA County. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're also following developments here. We are talking about the Wisconsin Police Association. They have been a very long time without a contract. Let's bring in Jason Calvi. Jason, what is the situation going on with the police union?
These are your detectives and your patrol officers across the city of Milwaukee, and they have had contract negotiations going on for months and many months, actually. The last contract expired at the end of 2022, so what the pay is for right now for a Milwaukee police officer is the same pay that would have been in place in January of 2022. That was their last raise. That contract ran out that end of that year, and so now they're looking for more money from the city of Milwaukee, and these contract debates have been going on and on and on for many, many months. And now it's really going to the final step, and that's going to be arbitration. So an arbiter will decide exactly what to do with this conflict between the city and the police union. It comes down to things like pay. And the union says that when they're looking at pay from some of the neighboring communities, when you look at your Brookfields and some of the other neighboring jurisdictions, that a young man or a young woman can go to one of those jurisdictions, start their career as a police officer, and get paid a lot more or several $1,000s more than what they would get in Milwaukee. Starting off, and then it continues up from there as they get their pay grades every year. They get their increase on the 5-year cycle here. There's 5 steps of pay in the city of Milwaukee for a patrol officer. So after 5 years, that's the top pay. And for those officers who are at top pay here in Milwaukee, they haven't had that raise since 2022, and they're really looking for a boost here from the city of Milwaukee.
You mentioned that other municipalities pay higher. Can you explain a little bit of why that is?
Well, it comes down to what communities are willing to offer. And so when we looked at, for example, when you're going into the academy as a recruit, for example, in the city of Brookfield, when I looked at their numbers, they were paying their recruits the same pay that they would get when they're on their first assignment as a patrol officer after they graduate from the academy. In Milwaukee, there's one pay for the recruits in the academy, 6 months that they're getting that lower pay, and then they get bumped up when they become a patrol officer after they graduate the academy after 6 months. So that's one thing that they're looking at when they're looking at trying to recruit people, because we've seen some issues with staffing that we've reported at FOX6 News. Most recently, I got a tip from a whistleblower who shared with me what's called the pretty much it lists the assignments for the district, and this tip came in for District 1, and it showed a very small number of officers on patrol for one of the nights this week. It had 3 officers listed for that particular night this week, and earlier in the week, and that's 3 officers, and I'm told by one of the officers that really it was only 2 officers on patrol in District 1. That's the downtown area. That's where the administration building is. That's kind of the headquarters of MPD. So you're looking at an area that has a lot of activity, a lot of businesses, a lot of apartments as well in District 1. And according to this tip that I got with the records to show it, we're showing very little officers. Only 3 people on patrol. One of them was actually called in to do a hospital guard that particular night, meaning there would have been 2 patrol officers in that very busy part of town, normally assigned from that district. Now, when we did this story in a previous district where there was a similar situation like this, MPD had told us that they had brought in officers. They had one of the top leaders out there potentially patrolling as well. They brought in people from other jurisdictions. They had somebody stay late, somebody come in early. So they had multiple officers that were serving that were not on the lineup. So we're waiting to hear back from MPD today as far as what happened with this lineup that was shared with us, where there was only 3 people listed in District 1. I'll hopefully get more information to share with you on our news coming up here at 4.
Okay, Jason, let's just talk about this. I can imagine this is an incredibly difficult time for the union to be negotiating a contract. When you talk about the heartache this department has experienced recently with the loss of an officer, 4 officers shot this year, and then they say they are short-staffed. There has always, or for a very long time, been this tension between the community and officers. It's got to be tough when you're not loving your job to be now negotiating, and it seems like the city doesn't show that appreciation.
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, the mayor, we've asked him several times, as well as the police chief, about these issues with the union, and you know, one of the things that's interesting, that they would push back on these challenges from the union and say they're working in good faith to come up with a deal. They're ready and willing. They're going to be going to arbitration, but they say that they are acting in good faith. They push back on some of these claims from the union. You know, for example, one of the things to look at is they did come up with an agreement with the firefighters union that was signed. That's the firefighter union contract there that was signed, I believe, back in April of this year. So there's been contracts for supervisor officers as well. Remember, the police union, the Milwaukee Police Association, only represents sort of rank and file, and your patrol officers, that's your patrol officers and your detectives. So there have been union contracts that the city has been willing to extend to people. We also know we've got these are the contracts here for the various Milwaukee police chiefs. So we're going to be looking at that and showing you how much the police chiefs have been making. This is Chief.
Let me interrupt you because you talk about that. So again, like, I'm listening to this. I'm a citizen of Milwaukee. I've got complaints. I don't feel safe. I don't see enough officers on the street. How much does a starting officer make? Do we have a ballpark of what that pay is?
Yeah, I have the numbers here. Let me just pull them up while we continue talking. I do have the numbers here for the officers in Milwaukee, including starting at the academy. So let me just pull that data up.
And while you're doing that, I'll just continue to speak. I mean, it is a very difficult position to be in because these officers are showing up to work. They don't know what they're going to encounter. They are putting it all on the line, hoping that they get back home to see their families, their loved ones, and their friends. And so they're being asked to do all of this while not being paid to the same level of other jurisdictions, and maybe not even starting pay at something that is attractive.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think that the city is saying that they're offering a competitive package of benefits and salary, and they're paying for the people when they're in the academy. So the MPD police recruits, I did get that data in front of me, Kim. They make the equivalent of $47,000 a year, but remember, the academy is just half the year. So it would be, if they went to academy for a full year, which they don't, it'd be $47,000. And then once they graduate, once they take the oath of office, they get the badge. Excuse me, hope I didn't bump the mic there. But once they wear the badge and they're a sworn officer, then when they graduate, they're bumped up. So that'd be 6 months in, they'd be bumped up to $63,000 a year.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Does it hurt the negotiations? I imagine that it does when you have the Milwaukee Police Association talking about the negotiations, details that they're not happy with. Does that make it difficult to actually come to an agreement?
I think, you know, it's kind of this double-edged sword potentially, Kim. I think it is difficult because it's going to aggravate the city, the mayor, potentially, or city leaders. But at the same time, when you're representing the rank and file officers, you know, the union themselves are hearing from the members that this is unacceptable. They want a pay raise. They want to see recruitment numbers, you know, increase, because the Milwaukee city budget, it does fund 65 police recruits for 3 classes. So 3 classes of 65 recruits every single year. And when we go to those police graduations this year, in the last year as well,
small numbers.
25.
Yes.
We're not getting those numbers. And so we ask, well, what is going on to recruit officers? And the union says it comes down to pay, because I told you what the pay was $46,000 for the recruits, in $47,000 in Milwaukee. Go to Brookfield, the recruits there are making $11 more an hour. So that's one of the things that they would say, but the city would say, no, they're offering good benefits, they're trying to be competitive, and of course they have limited resources as well. So
I will just tell you, just as a Milwaukee native, born and bred here, it is such a change. I know in law enforcement all over the country, but when I was young, you know, in my 20s, there were so many young police officers that because it was an attractive job, it was a stable job, it was a job with benefits. I think it's something like 25 years or 30 years and out. So a lot of the, they started at 2021, and by the age of 40, 42, they were already retired. So it's just, it's, interesting and heartbreaking to see the change in the attractiveness of being a law officer in the city of Milwaukee. So I know that you're working on your story and you'll have those numbers and where the negotiations stand. I know it's a lot to get through and to break it down to why it matters for people who are, watching us, but you do such a great job. So Jason Kelby, thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Kim, appreciate it.
And you're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk on this Tuesday. Let me bring down Jason. There you are. So that's some of the things that are going on the Wisconsin Live Desk. And of course, we got to talk about the Brewers taking on the Cubs later this evening. So far, they're 1-up in the series, so that's a great way to start. It's going to be an exciting game. We, of course, are airing that game right here on Fox 6 tonight. We have the Fox 6 News at 5 o'clock. Then at 6 p.m., the Brewers live pregame begins, 6:30. It's the Brewers versus the Cubs. After the game, we have a special edition of Fox 6 News, 1 hour, followed by the 1% Club and the Snake. You're watching Fox 6, the Live Desk, the Wisconsin Live Desk, I should say. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
We're going to take you now to Minnesota, where a briefing is going on. Minnesota is set to hire a security expert to review the security threats that could possibly happen at the Minnesota State Capitol. Let's listen into what's being said.
Are different during daytime hours when there's many people on the Capitol grounds, but we were not short that night. The second question, will anyone be held accountable? All of that will become more clear as we continue to look at footage, as we continue to look at what occurred in those hours when he entered the building. But right now, I don't have a clear answer for that.
Colonel, just Paul Bloom, Fox 9 News. The wedge in the door, at least is how the charges read, seems like a pretty blatant and sort of the most basic of way back into a building. How concerned are you that a door, was wedged open like a college campus? It just seems like something that should not happen at the Capitol. I'm just wondering what your reaction to that is.
Yes. The question was, what's my reaction to a wedge being in the door? Again, I will remind everyone that this is an open investigation with charges pending. It is alarming. However, using that word, it was an unalarmed door. And so as we know around the Capitol, when doors are left ajar or for a certain period of time, there's alarms that go off in our dispatch center to alert Capitol security to those areas. There was not an alarm on this door. And so again, many doors throughout the Capitol areas that Capitol security and Capitol troopers are going around to check on and did not see the wedge in the door.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO, how many doors don't have an alarm and why are some armed and others aren't armed? I mean, there's lots of it.
You're listening to a news conference. Minnesota State Patrol will bring in an expert to evaluate security at the state capitol. This in the wake of the shootings of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses last month. You've heard that there have been perhaps some lapses in doors not properly being secured. And so there is a push for action after the political assassinations of Minnesota lawmaker and her husband and the shooting of another and his wife.
So there are a certain number of doors on the Capitol grounds that are mechanical entrances, those types of things that do not have alarms on them. They are not open to the public. They are not open to card key holders.
Quinn Gorham, Gray Media. Just a quick question about the cost of hiring an outside firm for this. Where's that money coming? Is that going to be from the $3 million grant that was part of the capital investment request this year? And how much is that going to cost?
So the question was the external assessment for Capitol security, where that money is coming from. The $3 million for Ramsey County is completely different. This is something that would come out of the State Patrol budget, again, in hopes to enhance security measures that we can take and also to provide that advisory council for future security improvements.
And do you have an overall cost estimate on how much that might come out of the budget?
The question was about cost, and at this time we do not. Again, we are in the process of signing that contract, and once that's signed, we will have a better idea of what the cost will be.
New to Axios, develop on Tom's question, the security staffers who were working that night, are they still working, or have any of them been put on leave pending your investigation into what happened?
So the question was the staff that was working that evening, are they still working? And yes, they are still working.
Nathaniel Minor, Star Tribune. We understand the Capitol has an Everbridge system that alerts legislators of any issues on the complex. Is there any talk of expanding that beyond the complex to alert legislators at home or other places?
So the Everbridge system that is in place is not just for legislators. It's for any of those people that work on the Capitol grounds, and it's very specific based on the location that those people work. We are discussing how we can expand that and use that for external messaging if need be.
Messaging to whom? External messaging to whom?
External messaging to legislators, sorry.
Danny Stewart with Care 11. The criminal complaint outlines that it was a mechanical door on the northeast side. Is it this the one the stairs go down? Like it wasn't a public entrance, correct?
So we're asking about specifics on security along with what's part of the investigation, so I won't get into those details.
And can you tell us how he got into Senate chambers? Did he climb through was the wooden door closed, or did he go through a door? How did he get into Senate chambers?
Again, that is part of the investigation, so I'm going to stay away from answering those questions of how he entered the Senate chambers.
The last annual report from the advisory committee said there's a $40 million shortfall for Capitol security that had been requested by the state but was not actually in the bonding bill this year. Do you have what you need resources-wise to carry out some of the security improvements that you already know that you want to do?
I'll let you take the question on the money, please.
So to rephrase the question, I think there was a $40 million request for bonding for security upgrades. Is that the question? We will continue to work with the legislature through ACAS, the advisory committee, on what we may need again in the future. There are reports that are done each year. There was another one done in 2025, which is probably what you're referencing for security needs and recommendations and suggestions. This is a large complex too. As you read through that, as the Colonel had mentioned, there are a number of buildings, a number of parking facilities, and there's 140 acres that covers the Capitol area, which it's a large area. So Security upgrades and security needs are going to continue to be changing as the world changes, and it's a large facility. So, we'll continue to ask for funding that we think is necessary for us to be able to carry out our mission. As we're taking a look at the internal review, there will certainly be discussions on additional equipment, policy enhancements, personnel issues. And then as we are asking for that third-party independent security assessment, we are hoping that what will happen is that for the legislators who are helping with this and the public to be able to review what a third party thinks that we need for any security enhancements, personnel policy, procedures, to make sure that we're providing the full protection for the 140 acres, numerous buildings, and facilities that are here at the state capitol. But we will continue to review that. And my guess is that there was certainly likely going to be a request for some funding with the next legislature.
We'll take two more. Commissioner, state law requires that the advisory committee meet quarterly. Have they been meeting those requirements, and if not, why not?
The question is on the advisory committee that is required to meet 4 times per year. The committee, I believe, last year met twice. They did not meet their 4 times. I don't recall what the suggestion was why they didn't meet those other times. But what I will tell you is that when that committee and that group meets, they do review security protocols. They do review recommendations and updates from the State Patrol, the Sergeant at Arms that is certainly heavily and deeply involved with security. And again, as we have certainly gone through some horrific events, especially since June 14th, and we're certainly seeing, this intrusion into the state capitol, we understand that there are certainly, security concerns that will continue on, not only for legislators, but for many of those that are in the public and that visit. Those of you that have been here, you've seen 20,000 plus people who showed up at the Capitol at times who are milling about inside and outside the Capitol, and to continue to enhance and keep them safe is certainly a high standard for us that we take very seriously, and we're going to do absolutely everything we can to make sure and keep them safe.
Is it concerning that they haven't been meeting that threshold?
Yeah. The question is it concerning they haven't been meeting that threshold? If we have suggestions, questions, or issues, we certainly know that we can reach out to the Lieutenant Governor or any members of that committee. And we do have frequent conversations, and I have frequent conversations with members of that committee on any security issues. So the communication and the contact with that group continues. But I think that, as we're moving through these issues and concerns, the enhanced importance of that committee has certainly been brought to bear. So it's a great question. Thank you.
WCCO Radio.
This will be the last one.
Will August 20th, the meeting of this advisory committee, serve as a deadline for the public to find out things like who that third-party security firm will be and when these updated security measures will be in place?
So the question was, will the next meeting of ACAS, August 20th, include more information on this third-party security assessment and any updates on changes to security protocols? Certainly, I would anticipate that August 20th would be a very important meeting for us to address a whole number of issues.
Officials in Minnesota announcing that they will hire a third-party expert to evaluate the security that's in place right now at the Capitol. This is, of course, accentuated. It's so present on mine after 4 people were gunned down in a political assassination. A Congress state representative was killed along with her husband. Another lawmaker was shot, and his wife also, in a political assassination. So I want to pop up this, believed to be a wildfire happening. We're working to get some information on where exactly this is happening. But what I can tell you from the searching around on the net, the National Interagency Fire Center says that the national preparedness level for firefighters has now been lowered to a level 3. It means that while there's significant fire activity across multiple areas in the country, the availability of firefighting resources has improved, but still it is not where it needs to be to save loss of life and property. And so that is something that, of course, we are all very, very much now, I think, more attuned to. Historically, a preparedness level of 3 at this time of year aligns with the average activity for May and July. We're going to bring in now our weather expert, Holly, to talk a little bit about where we are in the fire season and just around here. We've got a little bit of rain now and again, but Holly, has it been enough?
I honestly do not believe it is enough, because we were going into summer, Kim. We were already still with drought, still had drought pretty much in our area. And then the wildfires from Canada did not help the situation. We have not received that much rain just in general this year, let alone not even enough snow this year for a lot of our winter sporting places to really be able to have all of those winter activities for people. So we've been in a deficit for just precipitation in general, and it doesn't help whenever we do have these wildfires that start, because the ground is not moist enough where the wildfires won't stop, if that makes sense. And that's even speaking to right now, Canada's still dealing with wildfire smoke and wildfires, and is making the wildfire smoke come to our area and causing a lot of unhealthy air conditions for all of the constituents here across the state, really, not just even southeast Wisconsin, across the state.
I'm looking, there's 44, this is updated daily, 44 large fires burning across the United States. Alaska has 11, New Mexico has 2, Nevada has 1, South Dakota, Arizona, California. You know, this is really, when we talk about climate change, this goes hand in hand.
It definitely goes hand in hand, and it's something that people try to get away from all the time, but it's also something to just keep in mind. I mean, looking at this wildfire here, I mean, a lot of these wildfires that are continuing to have, like, to continue to burn, and they're not necessarily being contained, is because they're in hard to reach places. Now, luckily, there's people that can get to those wildfires, but I can only imagine all the wildfires that Kim just named, the 44 places. The reason a lot of those are probably still burning is because they're in areas where people can't reach them to actually put them out, or they've spread so much and covered so many acres that it's going to take a while, and it doesn't help because temperatures are unseasonably warm, and that doesn't help either. It's just such a dry climate, and we're already in summer, so that definitely doesn't help. I mean, we have an air quality alert here, Kim, and that's for wildfire smoke as well, just to kind of continue with this. Canada, I don't even think they're containing the fires. We have to look and see what the number is of how many, what's the percentage of it actually being contained, but we still deal with the wildfire smoke and probably will for the remainder of summer.
So we're talking about climate, and also it says 93% of all fires so far this year have been started by people. So that is something to think about, whether it be deliberately or unintentionally, like not putting out campfires, sparks, just things, burns that go wrong. So tomorrow, are we looking at better conditions?
As far as needing the rain and getting the rain, yes. As far as temperatures also, yes, but it's going to be rainy, so you're not necessarily going to want to be outdoors when it's raining. So the best day to really start to enjoy the temperatures here is really going to be on Thursday. That's also the start of the state fair, Kim. So tomorrow, it's going to be rainy starting off throughout the day, really. The rain's not going to end until about 6:30 tomorrow. So really the whole time the sun is up, it's going to be rainy.
Holly, I have an idea that I'm going to pitch. I like to mic you and walk with you through the Wisconsin State Fair as you sample like all these foods.
You're going to hear,
this is a Holly happy, a happy Holly State Fair food.
Yeah,
okay.
Look, we need to get that started. I remember we used to do something here where people used to take the microphone in the newsroom. It was like right when I started. If I was able to do that and just sample all of the different foods, even the ones that have all these crazy mixtures, I think it'll be fun.
I love it. Thanks for rounding out the Wisconsin.
Hey there, hello. It is the final week of July, and it is red hot outside, red hot on the local sports calendar. This is going to be fun tonight. Lily Zhao, Brandon Cruz, Tim Van Born, and we're happy that you're with us as well. Starting lineup on the Fox 6 Sports Blitz. The Packers get started in Green Bay. The training fields are on, and a quotable cornerback makes us say what? Meanwhile, the best of the best in the National League zero in on each other at American Family Field. What a week it figures to be for the Brewers, and that's before they either visit or do not visit the Swap Shop. Plus, our latest high school hotshots right on cue.
don't think you have that same mindset of running back because you could be stagnant. I'm trying to get better. I'm not trying to run back losing in the first round of the playoffs. So.
I remember when last week when the Eagles got their rings, I text Coach Pisacci and I was just like, I'm sick. Like I seen it and I looked at it, I was like, it made me want to come to work.
Well, now Josh Jacobs gets to go to work. The Packers are involved in training camp in Green Bay. It's a monster time of year every year, no matter what else is going on. So let's talk about that initially and Jordan Love leading the Packers back to it. I liked his answer. I don't want to run it back. First round playoff. That's not exciting.
No, and it's not what this team is expecting. And I liked the follow-up answer we showed there by Josh Jacobs. I mean, this is a team that doesn't want to say, oh, hey, we made the playoffs and watch other teams enjoy it. This team seems like it does have a mission, and that mission is to get to the Super Bowl. Do they have the talent? We don't know at this point yet or not, but the attitude is definitely there, and that's what you want to see in that first week and the first few days of workouts at training camp.
Jordan Love's been around for a while now, Lily. 3 years as an apprentice, now his third year as a starter. Where have you seen him change?
I think the leadership aspect of it, right? Again, you come in and Aaron Rodgers is a starting quarterback. You sit on the bench, you learn, and then you're thrust into it in a starting role. And he's kind of come more into his own as a leader and a guy that, his teammates rightfully should be looking up to. He's more vocal. I think also in terms of the technique, working on the footwork, and hopefully a healthy season for Jordan Love translates to even more success on the field for the Packers. But you have to like the fact that he is taking charge in a department that he needs to as a quarterback, and that's being the number one guy.
His bank account has certainly changed too. How much of this is on him this year?
I think a lot. I think a lot of people were wondering when he was paid that money, is he worth being a $50 million quarterback? And you can talk about last year again. We've talked about it. Was it, not the season he wanted? Of course, he was injured. He talked about it. But, Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love mentioned it wasn't a regression that he made. But again, this is a big prove-it year for Jordan Love to say, this is why I'm worth the Packers paying me $50 million plus a year. I think a lot does ride on his shoulders as the quarterback because, again, when the offense is working, when it's clicking, it's all great for him. But when it doesn't, a lot of eyeballs on the quarterback as well.
Right, good because Matt LaFleur saying this week, there's a reason we took Matthew Golden in the first round, or there are a lot of reasons why we did that. And people are going to long remember, Brandon, the NFL draft and all the hype, and Golden is there. But this guy has an opportunity, and how much is on him? This is a deep wide receiver group. Someone could emerge, though.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot on him because he was that first-round pick. They hadn't done that in so long, and they need somebody to kind of really step up in that room and really try to take that number one position, and that's something he wants to do. And, yes, he's young. He hasn't practiced with them with pads yet, so they don't know what he's like that way, but they like what they see in the speed, the hands, and then Matt LaFleur was talking about the way he can put a foot in the ground and then move, and that is something that he likes to see. So that's so far so good for him, but I do think the pressure in that room is on him at this point.
Interesting for a young man to face that. The pads go on Monday. Things do change a little bit on the lines, probably as much as anything else. Elton Jenkins is on the line. The Packers say he'll be there when he's healthy, but he's not healthy right now. They're saying his back injury is why he's out. There's a contract situation that looms here as well. Are they related?
I don't know. It's hard to say. That puts a lot on Elton Jenkins saying that he's not necessarily working hard, I would think, if you're going to relate the two. I just think it's, in my opinion, coincidental because he has shown up. He was at the off-season workout program. He didn't work out, but he was there. He was present. He was part of the team. And now with this back injury, he's still there. He's part of the team. But there is a concern about him getting paid because he's now having to move over to center, and that's a position that doesn't get paid as much as the other offensive line positions that he has played previously. So he's trying to work something out there, and I think that's going to be something very different than his physical condition with his back.
Nicknamed Big E, they say it certainly can't be empty when it comes to Elton Jenkins for sure. Zach Tom's coffers are not empty. The big contract deal this week for a former fourth-round draft choice late in the fourth round, Lily Zhao. What a meteoric rise through his first few years in the NFL, and now basically $90 million coming his way.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a guy that, again, Matt LaFleur talked about kind of being thrust into action as a starter, and he performed very well. We talked about, he's good in pass pro, obviously good run blocking as well, but he's kept Jordan Love very clean on the right side of the line, and that's why the Packers paid him. They wanted to get that position solidified. They bring in Zach Tom, and to his credit, he was here in the offseason. He talked about, me not being here does a disservice to me, so I wanted to be here. And of course, Matt LaFleur talked about he called Zach Tom right after after he got that big contract, and there was a massive smile on Zach's face, and rightfully so. He's earned it, and now it's, of course, going back on the field this season and proving why he's worth that big money.
Super reliable player as well. The Packers really believe in him on that note. They drafted Anthony Belton in the second round after a first-round draft choice last year. Where's Jordan Morgan, or where's Anthony Belton going to find some time on the line?
That's a good question. I mean, the left tackle position, of course, I know Rasheed Walker thinks that's solidified. He's played the majority of the snaps. You have Jordan Morgan. You have Anthony Belton. I mean, this guy is versatile. That's why they brought him in. A big body as well, a big personality, and so
exuberant
personality. The Packers fans love him, and so again, he could potentially find some time along the line anywhere, but you have to think potentially if guys are not going to be in, he would maybe look at left tackle or right guard potentially, but a guy that wants to fit in anywhere that he can. So I think his versatility comes in key. The fact that he's practicing is important, being that second round pick. That those contracts weren't being solidified just yet before training camp, but he got it done. He is practicing, and now he kind of needs to figure out where he does fit in along the line.
And is his biggest contribution going to be running up and down the fan line there, or is he going to get on the field? Right, we shall see with Anthony Belton. He said it was fun. He kind of fed off the fans there a little bit. It's been fun to watch Bo Melton come in and emerge as a wide receiver. Now he's switching over to the other side of the ball, Brandon. This is a big pivot in the middle of a guy's career.
It really is. The one advantage is he's very athletic, and he's got a brother that's a cornerback in the NFL. So there is someone he can bounce a lot of stuff off of, you think. And the other fact is he also knows how big that room is, and they need so much help on the corner. He's a guy that seems to be able to do it, at least obviously they believe that he can, and his attitude towards it has been phenomenal. I mean, you were up there, you talked to him. I mean, he seems excited about this, and he says it's not a challenge, it's just what his job is to be done.
Yeah, you're right. And if you're looking at the video saying, who's Bo Melton? He's 16 now. He's wearing number 16, so he has changed his number. He's on that side of the ball. I've known Bo pretty well since he's been in Green Bay, and you're right. He views this as an opportunity. He used to really be Mr. Social Connector in the wide receiver room. Automatically, he's Mr. Social Connector in the defensive back area. So that's just the personality coming through there. The cornerbacks would be helped by any sort of pass rush, Lily. Gee, cue me in. This is the NFL. That's the way that goes. Do the Packers have enough?
They hope so. That's the big question, right? Will the Packers be able to get at the quarterback potentially with just 4 guys? We will see. But, Rashawn, Gary, Kingsley, and Enagbare, who you see there, Kenny Clark, these are the guys who are going to be looked upon to bring the pressure this fall. They kind of fell short of expectations last season in terms of the sack totals, but you're hoping that does get ratcheted up this fall. And with the healthy Kenny Clark, that certainly does help as well.
Matt LaFleur says their brand new locker room gets them no wins on the field, but does it help, intangibles?
Maybe. I mean, it's brand new digs. It looks nice. Guys are excited. Maybe it motivates them a little bit more. But it's a nice new space. But they have to still go out there and earn it and prove why they're going to be a good team this year.
Pictures of each guy up there, the alma mater of each guy up there, and the hometown. Sometimes the hometown gets lost, so it's kind of neat that that's up there for sure.
Well, and I think what you get out of this, I mean, you look at these athletes now and what they went through and where they went to college. I mean, say if they went to Georgia or Texas or a place like that, that locker room looks like that. I mean, so you want them to be as comfortable as possible. You want them to be able to enjoy the spaces around them, and that can help them as they go out on the field, I believe.
I don't think there's room for 4 schools up there. Guys that transfer all over the place. We had the bikes appearing and Mark Murphy saying goodbye this week, which is a bigger deal.
It's Murphy saying goodbye. I mean, it's an end of an era. It's a guy that really seemed to connect with the players and the staff and really had the trust of that organization being the leader of it. And I think that says a lot about where this team is going and how he put them on that path.
A fixture for sure for the Green Bay Packers. You know what? 2 teams are fixtures atop the National League Central Division. Does it get any better? We're talking about the Cubs and the Brewers. That's right around the corner, as their games are right around the corner. Stay with us tonight on the Fox 6 Sports Blitz.
What is it when you're the lead of the parade? What do they call you?
Isthmus.
Antsiness or whatever the word is.
You know, I never knew that. You learn something new every day.
It's an amazing locker room. I don't know if y'all seen the showers yet, but it looks crazy. They got these buttons you can press. It like showers you this way. No diddy. But you know what I'm saying? But nah, it's some good stuff out here. It's some good stuff out here for sure.
All right, Bo Melton just really kind of getting into it. We were talking about him and those new digs. I mean,
didn't check out the shower every time.
One thing that's going on big around here right now, obviously, a huge buzz around baseball is here in Milwaukee with the Brewers holding the best record in the National League along with the Cubs. The two meet this week. How big is this series, even though it's the end of July and not the end of September?
I think it is big. I have to say it is. And, of course, you have 5 games coming up at Wrigley Field in the not-too-distant future as well. It's a measuring stick. It was important for the Brewers to win today getting into it as far as I'm concerned, and you're at home. I think the Brewers want to throw the first shot, if you will, in this little matchup, see what happens when the series resumes at Wrigley Field.
He mentioned the series with the Marlins. It didn't go well for the first 2.5 games. And then they salvaged one today. How big was this series?
Oh, I think absolutely huge to win this one, thanks to Blake Perkins, the walk-off winner in the 9th inning. You know, it was kind of, okay, you look at the first game out of the break, and you can talk about the team being stuck in mud. Pat Murphy even admitted so. Yeah, that's a good way to assess it. But then the next game, it just seemed like this team was out of sorts. They were committing errors that led to some Marlins runs. And all of a sudden, you lose a series, their first in quite a while. And so it was kind of uncharacteristic Brewers baseball. They got back into it late here, and it was fun to see them salvage the series, avoid the sweep, and, of course, keep things tied with the Cubs.
And what kind of went unsaid because of the way this one ended with the walk-off and the excitement was how well Brandon Woodruff pitched. I mean, he's back.
Hard to argue. That's the best way to say it, really. He's been good every time he's gotten the ball. He's limited the damage. He has not walked people. That's a message you get when you're a 7-year-old. You know what I mean? Don't put guys on base. You're going to have the coach pitch or something. And Brandon Woodruff's done such a good job coming back out this time around, limiting that.
And when you look at consistency right now, it's Jackson Chourio. I mean, every single day he's getting a hit or multiple hits, and he's been a key in the success they've had.
Absolutely. A 20-game hitting streak? I mean, that is phenomenal for Chourio in his sophomore season with the Brewers. He gets on base every single game, it feels like. And in today's game, he just delivered in some big moments to, keep the Brewers in the game. So what he's been able to do at the plate has been phenomenal. He is red hot right now. Big part of their success of why they were able to win a big chunk of games to, really rocket them to the top of their standings. And so I think Jackson Chourio being confident at the plate, finding ways to get on base and ways to win for this team is so important as, of course, they kind of head towards the home stretch of their season.
And don't forget, he was a monster in August and September last year.
Yeah, and he has that experience behind him. One of the things that led them up to this Marlins series was an 11-game win streak. Everybody talking burgers, everybody planning on how they're going to go get their free burgers. What did that say about this team as they were able to beat some really good teams in that stretch?
Had some rallies in there, played well on the road. You're exactly right. I think it showed their legitimacy. You won different ways. You're going to get some luck on an 11-game winning streak, and they did. They will admit that. Pat Murphy would admit that. But they also played very good baseball. Their pitching is so solid that they're not going to go on long tangents, it seems like, where they're losing. Even they had lost 2 here against the Marlins. Today, they had only given up 2 runs. You might have lost, but you're still in these games because they get such good, consistent pitching right now.
Yeah, and when you look at the consistent pitching, you've got Jacob Mizorowski, who has really been unbelievable. But what we saw the last time out, Lily, he got pulled after 64 pitches, less than 4 innings. Is there a concern with him going into tomorrow night's game against the Cubs?
You hope not. And, of course, you're talking about limiting the pitches. Again, still a young guy there. But you're hoping, this doesn't kind of temper what he believes will be just a massive game on the scale of it. But I think he's kind of approaching this as any other regular game, as he should. But, hopefully that doesn't have really any sort of impact on him tomorrow. It's going to be a very marquee game to watch. Game 1 of the series. You better believe the Cubs hitters are hot. So he's got to be able to limit the damage and hope that he can help the Brewers kind of keep this game close if it needs to be.
And one of the things offensively about this team is they've played 42 games where they have not hit a home run, yet they've won half of those games. That's the best in the major leagues. What is it about this team that doesn't need power to have success?
It's Pat Murphy being right on the money when he says they just stay right there in these games. They keep the edge going. That was lacking in the start of the Marlins series. I think, right, it was so jarring because you hadn't seen that from this team very often. They got right back on, pedal to the metal in this game on Sunday. And yes, they didn't hit a home run, but you felt that they were right there in the game. The pitching keeps it close, and something else can get you over the top.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning of this weekend. It was a celebration, 25 years of American Family Field. Lily, you were out there. What was that like for the players that are playing now, but also all the guys that came back?
Oh, it was fun. I mean, again, just different eras of Brewers baseball, all in one ballpark, celebrating, of course, when Miller Park opened in 2001 up until now. So a different guy from every team was in attendance. They did the alumni home run derby, and I think it was the sold-out crowd that stayed to watch the home run derby. But Prince Fielder, Bill Hall, they were out there signing some autographs, taking some pictures. It was just good to see different guys from different teams come together and say, listen, I remember being back here. I was excited to come back. All the memories come flooding back, and it's really cool to interact with just different guys that I didn't get to play with.
One quick question. What did you think about that home run derby? Tim.
Legit.
It was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, it was one of those things that you look at, and they did it right. They brought it back and celebrated all these teams and all these players with something so fun that those sold-out crowds stayed and watched. Well, we hope you stay and watch as we have a high school hot shot